If you ever hear children singing in a language you do not understand while your fleet burns above their world, you are already too late. That was the first lesson Commander Threxel of the Varethi Dominion learned on the third night over the colony called Idon's Fall. By the time he stood before the Dominion Senate to deliver his report, half his face was synthetic alloy, his lower thorax replaced by a lattice of surgical mesh, and his voice carried a permanent metallic rasp from lungs that had inhaled vacuum. He had commanded the 9th Extermination Cohort, a force that had pacified 12 civilizations without sustaining more than minor losses. Now he was the only one left alive. He did not bow to the Senate. He could not. The joints in his new legs locked unpredictably, and the pain dampeners embedded along his spine pulsed with each heartbeat. The chamber lights reflected across his scarred carapace as he fixed his remaining organic eye on the High Arbiter. "State your designation and rank," the Arbiter intoned. "Commander Threxel, 9th Extermination Cohort, Varethi Dominion," he replied. His translator rendered his guttural speech into harmonic tones for the chamber, but it could not remove the tremor beneath it. "You engaged the species self-designated as human on the colony Idon's Fall. You are the sole survivor. Confirm." Confirmed. A ripple of unease passed through the gathered delegates. The Varethi were apex predators among the stars. They did not produce sole survivors. "Our intelligence," Threxel began, "classified the humans as fragmented, technologically uneven, and politically divided. Idon's Fall housed 70,000 civilians and fewer than 3,000 formal soldiers. We deployed 8 planetary breakers, 120 assault frigates, and 20,000 ground troops. The campaign parameters predicted full compliance within 40 standard hours." He paused, mandibles tightening. The prediction models were wrong. The Senate requested visual evidence. Threxel complied. The chamber filled with helmet cam footage from the first landing wave. The drop pods slammed into what had once been agricultural terraces. Fields of tall violet grain had been harvested in spirals, not for food, but to create interlocking trenches and sight lines. Irrigation canals had been deepened into anti-armor pits. Wind turbines had been disassembled and reconfigured into rotary launchers that hurled shards of composite metal at hypersonic speed. They transformed their food supply into a weapon in less than 60 hours, Threxel said. Every meter of soil became hostile. The first Varethi squads advanced with standard dispersal tactics. The humans did not meet them in formation. They let them pass. Then the ground erupted. Pressure mines fashioned from fertilizer and fuel cells detonated beneath armored limbs. From beneath the terraces, hidden compartments opened, and civilians emerged wearing patchwork exoskeleton braces, clearly intended for mining labor, now repurposed to carry improvised rail weapons. They did not scream. They did not beg. They advanced while singing. The audio feed amplified the sound thousands of human voices woven together in a low, resonant chant. It was not melodic. It was rhythmic, like machinery grinding forward. They were smiling, Threxel said, not in panic, not in hysteria. They smiled as they charged. The footage zoomed on a human male with a shattered arm bound in polymer tape. He held a detonator in his uninjured hand and ran directly at a Varethi artillery unit. He detonated at contact range. The blast tore through 3 Varethi and vaporized him. Behind him, 2 adolescents, barely matured by human metrics, dragged ammunition crates toward a rooftop sniper nest while reciting the chant in steady voices. The Senate demanded casualty numbers. First hour, 4,000 Varethi dead, Threxel answered. Human losses estimated at 300. They retrieved their wounded under direct fire. They used the bodies of their dead as barricades and did so without hesitation. An urban district once dedicated to textile manufacturing had become a labyrinth. Conveyor systems were rerouted into crushing traps. Fabric dye vats were converted into chemical dispersal bombs that corroded Varethi armor. From every window, humans fired with disciplined bursts. Thermal scans identified them as teachers, mechanics, agricultural technicians, yet their movements demonstrated coordinated crossfire patterns identical to Dominion military doctrine. On the second day, Threxel ordered orbital suppression. The planetary breakers aligned and initiated charge sequences. That was when the surface of Idon's Fall began to glow. The humans had linked their geothermal taps into a synchronized energy lattice. They did not fire randomly. They targeted the power couplings of 3 planetary breakers simultaneously. Beams of coherent thermal energy lanced upward. Not enough to shatter hulls, but precisely calibrated to overload weapon cores. 3 capital ships went dark in less than 20 seconds. The Dominion fleet had never experienced electronic silence so complete. They blinded us, Threxel said. Then they hunted us. A new transmission filled the chamber. A human female appeared on screen. She wore no armor, only a soot street engineer's jacket. Her hair was bound tightly behind her head, her eyes steady. "This is Director Ilara Morov," she said in fluent Varethi. "You calculated our surrender probability at 98%. Recalculate." She smiled, not broadly, but with quiet certainty. "We have no intention of surviving your invasion. Our intention is to ensure you regret it." The transmission ended as secondary energy pulses disabled 2 more ships. The third day descended into close-quarters slaughter. Threxel's footage showed interior corridors of a hospital complex converted into a defensive citadel. Medical gurneys formed barricades. IV stands supported targeting optics. Surgeons treated wounded humans while instructing others on demolition timing. A Varethi shock trooper breached an operating theater and fired. The attending physician triggered an electromagnetic pulse device hidden beneath the surgical table. The trooper's armor locked. Instead of killing him, the physician continued stitching a patient's wound while calmly instructing nearby defenders to dismantle the immobilized enemy for parts. "They disassembled my soldier while discussing anesthesia dosages," Threxel whispered. "They compartmentalized terror." By the 4th day, Dominion Command authorized atmospheric sterilization. Threxel watched from orbit as the order transmitted. Before the firing sequence completed, every remaining human transmission channel opened simultaneously. The chant returned, louder, amplified through surface-wide broadcast towers. Interlaced with it were schematics of Dominion warship designs, annotated with structural weaknesses. "They had studied us for decades," Threxel said. "They knew exactly where to strike. The final act came from a single human vessel emerging from behind Idon's moon." The ship identified itself as the UES Revenant. It was smaller than a Dominion cruiser. It accelerated directly into formation, weaving through disabled breakers. Its captain transmitted one sentence: "For Idon's Fall." The Revenant targeted crippled Dominion ships, overloading their reactors to trigger chain detonations. Each explosion consumed multiple support vessels. Internal Dominion feeds showed human crew operating in vacuum-suited compartments filled with flame and decompression. One engineer, lower torso crushed by debris, rerouted power manually before expiring. The captain, her face lacerated by shrapnel, maintained command posture as atmosphere vented around her. She did not attempt retreat. She rammed the final operational planetary breaker, igniting both vessels in a bloom of white fire visible across the hemisphere below. Silence followed. Dominion forces were annihilated. Idon's Fall burned, yet remained inhabited. Threxel's last memory before unconsciousness was drifting among debris, while human rescue craft maneuvered through wreckage. They retrieved him. "They could have let me die," he told the Senate. "Instead, they rebuilt me." Visual feed shifted to a human medical facility. Director Marov stood beside an operating platform where Threxel's new limbs were installed. "You will return home," she had told him in precise Varethi. "You will tell them what you saw." She leaned closer. "We are not brave. We are afraid. But fear does not stop us. It refines us." Recovered data revealed Idon's fall was not a fortress world. It was a cultural preserve, lightly defended, population primarily civilian artisans and agricultural scientists. Dominion projections estimated total human population across settled systems at 62 billion. If 70,000 nearly destroyed our expeditionary arm, Threxel said, calculate what 62 billion will do if unified. The Synod chamber remained motionless. There is more, he added. During convalescence, he accessed open human networks. Training simulations disguised as recreational games taught children urban combat strategy. Civilian cargo ships incorporated concealed weapon hardpoints. Emergency response drills mirrored military mobilization protocols. Humans structured society to pivot instantly from peace to total war. They do not glorify violence, Threxel said. They normalize readiness. He raised his alloy limb, servos humming softly. This prosthetic is not a gesture of mercy. It is a reminder. They wanted me intact enough to testify. He scanned the chamber, meeting the gaze of each delegate. They are sending envoys to this synod. They will request diplomatic recognition. His voice lowered. Do not mistake that for submission. It is an evaluation. They are deciding whether you are a threat. The High Arbiter finally spoke. Your recommendation, Commander? Threxel did not hesitate. Approach with respect. Offer parity. Because if you choose conquest, you will hear singing in your skies. And you will learn, as we did, that humans do not measure victory by survival. They measure it by cost. As he exited the chamber, his mechanical steps echoing against polished stone, the Synod remained silent. Outside, in the observation tier overlooking the Capitol spires, a small human delegation waited beside a slender diplomatic shuttle. At their center stood Director Alara Marov, expression composed, hands folded behind her back. When Threxel's gaze met hers through the transparent barrier, she inclined her head in acknowledgement. Not triumph, not hatred. Recognition. The chant he had heard on Idon's fall echoed in memory, steady and relentless. He understood then that the horror was not that humans loved war. It was that they accepted it when necessary. And once accepted, they never forgot.